It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast.
City to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Monday morning and welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here with you. And not only is it just an average Monday, it's a Monday after the NFL season starts. Not only that, it is the Monday after the first week of the NFL season, which means it is Overreaction Monday. So welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Very, very, very excited for this show and very excited to be talking about real-life football on a Monday, reacting to what we saw. Yesterday was the first real day where 2020 felt normal in a while, and I hope yourself, just like I did, just basked in the glory, enjoyed all the games, got lost in the shuffle of just sitting on your couch for 12 straight hours, watching wall-to-wall football. It was good. It was definitely a good Sunday, the first good Sunday in a very long time. And we do welcome you into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network on this Monday morning. We appreciate you starting off this football Monday with us right here on the Ryan Hickey Show. Like I said, I had a lot to get to. As you could imagine, we'll start with a lot of football. We will end with a lot of football. And so many storylines, so much to react to. Tom Brady had his debut in Tampa Bay. It didn't go as expected. But in 15 minutes at 9:20, I'm going to say why Tom Brady's debut at Tampa Bay, in my mind, in my eyes, watching it and then rewatching some plays later on, it's encouraging. I think there's more positives than negatives, despite the fact that they lost the game. To me, I look at Tom Brady's debut with Tampa Bay as a win. I'll tell you why in 15 minutes. About a half hour from now, 9:40. We saw week one, right? We saw 13 games now, or 14 games, I should say, 14 games have been played in the NFL, obviously 2 tonight with the 2 Monday night games. But I'm curious, because there's, I think, enough of a sample size so far already in those 14 games that we watched between Thursday night and yesterday. Do we need the preseason anymore? Is there a real need for preseason football? We didn't have it this year. And I'll say this, to me, the product really didn't look that much different than the years past. So 9:40, we'll discuss, should the preseason permanently be dropped? Top of the second hour, Patriots, with their new quarterback, Cam Newton, for the first time in 2 decades, they get a win over the Dolphins. There's one stat, though, coming out of this game. There's one stat that really has me nervous for the Patriots' future success this season. I'll tell you what that stat is and why I'm concerned about the Patriots' future at the top of the second hour. Easy for me to say, top of the second hour, 10 o'clock Eastern. 10:20, new segment we'll do every Monday. It's called Quick Hits. Obviously, there is so much to get to, not only on an NFL Sunday, but now that college football is back, right? You had the ACC and the Big 12 kick off this weekend. The SEC is going to kick off in just under 2 weeks now. There's a lot of football to get into. For a 2-hour show, especially we're only on twice a week, there's a lot to get to, and especially on Mondays. So do a new segment, Quick Hits. Every single Monday, just quick hitters, just some quick thoughts that I had from the football weekend. So we'll do that. We'll debut that. It's about an hour, 15 minutes from so at 10:20 Eastern, and we will finish up. I do want to finish up with one NBA point if we get time. A lot of NBA action has gone on over the weekend. Obviously, took second fiddle or even third fiddle because of football returning, but James Harden and the Rockets get bounced. I think there's one conclusion, because there's one aspect I was holding on to. If you listen to the show, I've been a James Harden fan. I've been a believer. And there's one aspect that James Harden and the Rockets benefited from this year than they did in previous years. And I thought maybe that was the key to unlocking James Harden in the postseason. Not the case. Shows up small again in the playoffs. The Rockets exit after a nice Game 1 victory, lose 4 in a row, and another early exit for the Houston Rockets. Why James Harden cannot be the guy to lead a team to a championship. We'll finish up the show, 10:40 Eastern. We'll get into that if we have time. But like I said, it's a Monday. It's a Monday after NFL football, and more importantly, it's a Monday after the first week of NFL football, which means there is a ton of overreaction. There is always a ton of jumping the gun one way or another, positive or negative, taking one result that we see, the first, especially no preseason, really the first sight of football that we see for our favorite teams, that we see for teams that we're intrigued by. So naturally, we always overreact. Oh, this team looked great. They're not going to lose a game. This team looked terrible. They're going to go 0-16. This team stinks. The quarterback stinks. The coach stinks. Fire everybody. End the season. We're here, and I just learned a new word yesterday. I'm not shy to admit. I learned a new word yesterday. Mollify. Well, I was kind of looking for a little alliteration here on this Monday. I came up with today is going to be Mollification Monday. If you don't know what the word mollify, because I didn't up until about 12 hours ago, I didn't know what that word means either. So join the club. It means to reduce the severity of or soften. And I think that's a perfect word to describe our feelings after week one. Mollification Monday. I want to hear all your overreactions. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSR_radio. At Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. I want to hear all of your overreactions. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. Ravens are going to go undefeated. The Chiefs may never not score a touchdown. The Jets, well, there may be no overreacting with the Jets. The Browns, you can hit the panic button. Whatever you want to overreact to watching from week one, please reach out on Facebook, Twitter, let me know, and we'll try to, together, reduce some of that anger. Reduce maybe, or temper, we'll say, some of that joy. Very easy to get carried away with week one. I'm personally an emotional person. When it comes to sports, I usually, jump the gun one way or another when it comes to watching what I see and kind of taking that and thinking, extrapolating that for the rest of the season, rest of the series, whatever. But I'm here. I'm going to try my best to help keep everyone else sane. I'm going to try to keep do my best to keep myself sane. So with that said, we will kick off Mollification Monday with a few overreactions and why those overreactions should be tempered. Why they should be lessened. Why we shouldn't be as furious, as happy about what we saw in week one. Mostly negative here, but again, I want to hear your overreactions. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show. Let's hear all your week one overreactions. But I have a few here that I want to kind of dive into and explain why. Let's pump the brakes a little bit what we watched. Number one, I will go homer here with my team, the Indianapolis Colts, because this is a team, and this is a result yesterday, that one had people intriguing because of the new quarterback with Philip Rivers, right? There's a lot of questions. Philip Rivers going to the Colts, what he had left. If you listened to this show at any point between March and now, you know I'm not the biggest Philip Rivers fan. I'm not afraid to say it. I was not happy when they signed him. I thought personally he was just an older version of Jacoby Brissett, and I'd rather see what you have with Jacoby Brissett, have him prove in the year that he's healthy, see what he has. See if he can finish a full season healthy and see what kind of skills he has. Colts opted not to do that. They signed Philip Rivers. And week one, let's just say, did not go to plan. They lose to a team that's not even in the business of winning. I was tweeting this yesterday. Somebody please tell Gardner Minshew the Jaguars aren't trying to win this year. And with that, with a tank already in full effect, you cut Leonard Fournette, you trade basically anyone with talent on that team last year and this year. The Jaguars were trying to go 0-16, 1-50, basically as close to guaranteeing the number one spot as possible. And what happens? Phil Burrow said, no thanks. Two brutal interceptions. One led to a touchdown in the first half. Another came later in the game. Colts trailing, led to a field goal, made it a touchdown game. Jaguars eventually win 27-20. Here's the overreaction. Philip Rivers still stinks. He's washed up. He's done. Now understand, a lot of this are my thoughts, to be honest, heading into this game. But watching that game yesterday, Philip Rivers, yes, those two interceptions were bad. But yesterday was not his fault. There was way, way more egregious play from other positions than Philip Rivers. Again, the two interceptions are costing. That's kind of what his career bugaboo has been. That's what he's really known for. Throwing some bad interceptions, especially in some big times. I tell you, this is a total team loss. This was a total flop by the Colts, who I thought were going to win the division. Some people, not myself, but some people had dark horse Super Bowl contenders. And this is a team with high expectations, double-digit win expectations. But yeah, the offensive line, one of the best, if not the best in football. Maulers, right? Led by Quentin Nelson, the only viral guard in the NFL. But you know what happened yesterday? The Colts offensive line, in terms of run blocking, stunk. They opened up no holes. That Jaguars defensive line put pressure on the O-line, didn't really open up many running lanes, and the Colts, as a team, only rushed for 88 yards. I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. That is not acceptable. That's not how you win a game. You can't have Phillip Rivers throw the ball 46 times and expect to win. That's not why Phillip Rivers was brought here. Which gets me to my next point. Frank Reich. I love Frank Reich. I am a massive fan. I love his aggressiveness. His play calling at times was sketchy, and he got way too cute a few times. A 4th and 1 in the red zone. The Colts have Marlon Mack. The Colts have Jonathan Taylor. Two physical, and especially with Jonathan Taylor, big backs, hard to tackle. 4th and 1. You figure, okay, one of those two guys, maybe even Jonathan Taylor, get him some burn as a rookie. 4th and 1, you're going for it. You're going to run the ball. Let's give it to him. Let's just put our heads down, physical football. Let's get the yard and let's keep moving. Instead of Nyheim Hines, a scat back. If you don't know Nyheim Hines, I don't blame you. Obviously, they're NFL players, so they're stronger than me. But picture someone of my stature, a little bit shorter, but someone. Would you hand the ball off to me? If your team needed 1 yard, would you hand the ball off to me? I'm going to say no. I wouldn't even give the ball to myself. I'm not getting that yard. But Frank Reich, for whatever reason, thought that Nyheim Hines, the smallest back on the roster, when you need 1 yard and you need basically a man to carry the ball, thought he was going to be the man to carry the ball. Guess what? Spoiler alert in case you missed it. Colts did not get that. That was one. Another one, the Colts were down in the red zone later on in the game. And they decided to put Jacoby Brissett in a pseudo-wildcat package. Well, that blew up in their face. So Frank Reich got too cute. Secondary was carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey. I mean, Gardner Minshew had more touchdown passes than incompletions. He went 19 of 20. 19 of 20. Gardner Minshew for 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, Phillip Rivers, obviously, the 2 interceptions, especially the one late, is the one that we'll circle, we'll point to. You'll see on Twitter, you'll see the highlights, you'll see people joke. To me, this is not Phillip Rivers stinking. This is not Phillip Rivers' fault. I mean, he deserves blame, don't get me wrong. But I'm not here overreacting saying Phillip Rivers is done. The play calling, the run blocking, the secondary, that was a total team failure. So that's the first overreaction. Number 2, Eagles totally screwed. Up 17-0 against a bad Washington team with all of, we'll say, the headlines surrounding them this offseason, right? There are a lot of headlines, mostly negative, surrounding Washington coming into the 2020 season. You're up 17-0, the game should be over. The Eagles have playoff hopes. The Eagles still have their hopes on winning the division, possibly. Then you blow that and you let Washington go on a 27-0 run led by Dwayne Haskins and you lose the game. But here's why there's no panic if you're an Eagles fan. Because I know it's quickly, it's easy to hit the panic button. Here's why you shouldn't. This was a nightmare mismatch in week number 1. You had an offensive line that was one injury away from putting your dad as the guard or a tackle. And honestly, they were one injury away, basically playing with 4 offensive linemen. They were so banged up, both of their starting tackles that were projected to be starters were out. The depth was just so weak because of so many injuries. You had that offensive line, makeshift offensive line, going against one of the best defensive lines in football. And then you add Chase Young to it, who had a day himself as in his first game as an NFL player. 8 sacks of Carson Wentz. Hint, as a guy who's injury prone, it's just a principle in general. That's not the way you win games. Now, to me, obviously, this is the offense kind of slowing down, especially in the second half, function of just not being able to give Carson Wentz any time. And that's because the offensive line was so banged up. So as they get healthier, as Miles Sanders, another guy who missed the game, gets healthier and returns, health will make this team a lot better. So no need to panic right away. No need to kind of already punt on the season or try to trade Carson Wentz or do all these crazy things. This was just a brutal mismatch in week number 1 where it was the strength of one team against really the weakness of another, and that was exploited. When your weakness is the offensive line, you're in big trouble. So health should really cure these woes for the Eagles. I do want to give quickly, not overreaction, I want to give a quick shout-out. Ron Rivera. Like I said, not only you take over this team in the midst of turmoil with your owner, with the team name, with how the culture is run, and you were brought in there to change that culture. You get down 17-0. Don't panic. You come back, and not only that, as a man who's fighting cancer courageously, had to get an IV at halftime just to have enough energy to coach the second half. Think about that. And so he was able to lead his team to a come-from-behind victory. Shout out to Ron Rivera. Kudos. That's just an awesome, awesome win for him, the person. And for what he's trying to build in Washington, that is a massive undertaking. Massive. But kudos to you, Ron Rivera. I'm glad that you deserve it. That might be honestly one of your best wins of your career. Just because the circumstances you were facing, not only health-wise with your own self, but just the incredibly toxic culture you came in there and trying to upheave and remove. That takes years, if you can even do it. Kudos to you. Nice start for Washington with the brand new Washington Football Club. Two more quickly. Tom Brady, overreaction is washed up. He threw 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 to the Saints. Not great. Bucs lose by 11 to the Saints. But he had some good throws. He honestly, his arm looks good. And I want to get into this more in the next segment, just about 5 minutes or so. But the offensive line struggled. He's still working on getting his timing down with the receivers. But to me, I'm more encouraged watching Tom Brady in week 1 with the Buccaneers than I am discouraged, than I am concerned. So Tom Brady's washed up. Tom Brady's career is done. The Bucs won't be good. Total overreaction. I want to dive into that in 5 minutes. Finally, really quick here. Last overreaction. Same old Cowboys. Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy, same roster, doesn't matter. Same old Cowboys. Coming up short, shrinking in the big moment yet again. But there was something I watched that, to me, even though it was a loss, even though this decision that I saw didn't work out, I saw a change from the Cowboys under Mike McCarthy, and that was aggressiveness. The decision scrutinized by a lot of people. 4th and 3 inside the red zone. Right in the fourth quarter, still about 11 minutes to go, down by 3 points. You kick a chip shot field goal, you tie the game. Mike McCarthy goes for it. I love this decision. I love it. Be aggressive. Too many times we've seen the Cowboys take the easy way out, be conservative, and that comes back to bite them. Right? I mean, we complained about Jason Garrett for years on end because he was so conservative. He would never take a risk. And here comes Mike McCarthy, 4th and 3, with CeeDee Lamb, with Michael Gallup, with Amari Cooper, with Ezekiel Elliott. You have 4 phenomenal weapons to throw the ball to or give the ball to. Use them. So sure, it didn't work out. Sure, CeeDee Lamb maybe could have ran his route a little bit deeper. He ran it basically 2 yards instead of 3 yards. He came up a yard short. But I love the aggressiveness. And credit to the Rams for making that great play there. But I love the aggressiveness from Mike McCarthy. That's what you have to do. You have the weapons, use them. And as long as you're smart, which I thought that was a smart, aggressive play. It wasn't reckless. You didn't do it in your own end, and you didn't do it unnecessarily. If you are smart and you're aggressive, to me, it pays off in the long run. Especially with the weapons you have on offense, that's going to work out more times than not. So sure, it didn't work out the first time you did it. Sure, it didn't work out when everyone was watching on Sunday Night Football. Mike McCarthy, I hope you don't get gun shy. I hope you keep on trying to be aggressive, because if you keep making decisions like this, to go for it on 4th and 3, say, screw the field goal, we're going to go for a touchdown here, we're going to trust the guys we have, we're going to trust our $30 million quarterback, by the way, that the Cowboys keep saying they love, but Jason Garrett didn't want to trust with the ball in his hands. Keep doing it, because to me, you'll have success. I love Mike McCarthy's decision to go for it on 4th down. And again, it didn't work. Keep doing it, Mike. Keep doing it, because that's like what the Cowboys were missing desperately last year, and really in the entire Jason Garrett era. Keep it going. So to me, it's not the same old Cowboys. It's not the same Jason Garrett-led Cowboys, super conservative. Mike McCarthy flashed a little aggressiveness, and I hope he continues. I hope he doesn't get gun-shy. Hope he continues to be aggressive, because that will pay off for the Cowboys in the long run. So those are a few of my overreactions, and why at least I'm trying to calm or slow down some of the narratives here that are coming this way. Chris William Wynn writes it on Facebook. My Monday overreaction. Despite the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky comeback win in Detroit, Chicago still makes no sense to me. You bring in a Super Bowl MVP in Nick Foles, and then you sit Mitch because he wasn't cutting it, and you sit him on the bench. I don't get it. I love it. And Chris he already wrote it first week. He's a Lions fan. And Chris, we'll get to the Lions in quick hits. So just about an hour or so from now, I want to get into the Lions and just classic Lions performance. But I'm with Chris. Mitchell Trubisky for 3 quarters looked like he wasn't even going to have a job again in the NFL. He looked like he wasn't even going to make it on the team bus. There was a chance, because we've seen it before. USC and Lane Kiffin have left him on the tarmac. There was a chance, Matt Nagy, if they don't come back and win that game, if Mitchell Trubisky plays in the 4th quarter like he did the first 3 quarters, there was a chance he, quote-unquote, accidentally misses the team bus on the way to the airport. there's a chance that the Bears accidentally leave Mitchell Trubisky on the tarmac and forget to bring him back to Chicago. He was brutal. He was not even brutal. He was awful. Awful. But he stepped up in the fourth quarter. Maybe that, silences some of the criticism he had for now, but I'm with Chris. I don't get the Bears offense. This is still, to me, trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Mitchell Trubisky is a mobile quarterback. He plays great out of the pocket. He plays great on the run. And Matt Nagy just doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to cater to the strengths of his quarterback and then wonders why he struggles. So I do put some blame on Matt Nagy for not bringing the best out of Mitchell Trubisky. A little bit. Because Mitchell Trubisky's still bad. Don't get me wrong. And like Chris said, you won the game if you're the Bears. Mitchell Trubisky threw 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. But I'm with you. No overreaction. The Bears still stink. I'm still standing by my prediction that the Bears will finish last in the NFC North. I'm not changing that at all. And like I said, I do want to get into the Lions on that aspect a little bit in an hour or so in quick hits. So Chris, I know you're a Lions fan. You can stick with us here. We'll hit the Lions in an hour. But I want to know your overreactions. Week 1 is in the books, except for 2, obviously, Monday night games tonight. 14 of the 16 NFL games are in the books. What are your biggest Week 1 overreactions? Colts and Phillip Rivers. The Eagles stinking. The Cowboys coming up short. Tom Brady, is he washed up? Whatever you watched yesterday and you took away saying, wow, this stinks or this guy's really good, I want to hear him. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show. Tweet me right on Facebook, right on Periscope, your biggest Week 1 overreactions. We will try to talk through them together right here on the Ryan Hickey Show. When we come back, we'll get your Week 1 overreactions. We'll discuss throughout the entire show. Also, when we come back, Tom Brady makes his debut in Tampa Bay. They lose. Why there's more good than bad. To me, more encouraging signs than not coming out of the Week 1 opener. We'll tell you why when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga,
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me.
And we're back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here on this Monday morning. Overreaction Monday. We are getting all your thoughts on what you watched yesterday from Week 1 in the NFL season. I had a few. No reason, to worry too much about the Cowboys. I like the aggressiveness from Mike McCarthy, even though it didn't work. They'll be better this year. Eagles, bad loss. Don't get me wrong, bad loss to Washington. But health will definitely make this a better team. And Phillip Rivers doesn't stink, not washed up, because that entire Colts performance was just putrid. Offensive line, coaching, secondary, total team stinker. So I still have not buying into Phillip Rivers. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of him in general, but to just put this purely in his shoulders because of 2 bad interceptions, to me, just is missing the forest through the trees, which is how bad the Colts play the rest of the game. So again, your thoughts again on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Our guy Chris writes in, not buying into the Bears. Nice comeback by Mitchell Trubisky, down 23-6 in the fourth quarter. 3 fourth quarter touchdowns from Mitchell Trubisky after just looking pathetic for 3 quarters. So he's not buying into the Bears at all. So we'll get into a little bit more in just about 50 minutes or now, 45 minutes. We'll do quick hits, get into the Lions aspect of that. But I'm with Chris, not buying into the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky at all. So you want to write in on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Tweet us at WWSRN_radio, at WWSRN_radio, or at Ryan Hickey Show, both on Twitter. Give us your Week 1 overreactions. So speaking of which, one of them I just kind of mentioned before that to me was an overreaction, was that Tom Brady was washed up. Tom Brady stinks. He's done. It's not going to work out in Tampa Bay. And watching that game yesterday in New Orleans, obviously, they lose by 11. Saints look good. They kind of carry away. They win 34-23. Tom Brady's stat line, 23 of 36, 239 yards. He threw for 2 touchdowns, but also threw 2 interceptions, including a pick six. Obviously, a lot of criticism towards Brady, a lot of social media really just enjoying the fact that Tom Brady didn't look good. Tom Brady struggled, and the Buccaneers lost. But to me, I watched that game, and I was at work, so I had kind of one eye on the game, one eye on work. Listened to some of the game on the way home, the second half on the way home. Then I got home, rewatched the game, and then rewatched a few throws after that just to make sure I wasn't going crazy. And I even texted one of my buddies, Cody. If you are a fan of 2020 Apocalypse, you know Cody as well. Finished in 4th place. He was very confident and a very fun personality to have on the show. One of my former roommates at Penn State. Cody's a diehard Buccaneers fan. Diehard. From day one that I met him. So this is not some fluke about, just following Tom Brady or now that, Tom Brady's in the Buccaneers are good, he's on the bandwagon. He's been a Tampa Bay fan since day one. So I texted him last night because I had some thoughts, and I want to get into this. Why Tom Brady's debut with Tampa Bay should be encouraging. And he agreed with me. Because social media, if you missed the game or didn't watch a lot of it, social media was bagging on Tom Brady, rubbing his nose in the fact that he didn't really play great. I'm basically saying he's not good. He's washed up. And to me, again, I defended Tom Brady last year in New England. I thought it was more the lack of continuity with his wide receivers, the offensive line not being great, more than actually Tom Brady's skills deteriorating, his arm strength lessening, and just his overall play going down. So I still have high hopes for Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. And again, watching this first game, because we had a lot of questions and we didn't have any answers, right? No preseason games, really no film because not a lot of press were allowed and fans weren't allowed to training camp. We didn't really see much of Tom Brady, how he fit in this Bruce Arians offense. So while the stats from week 1 aren't dazzling, they're not impressive. Watching this game, to me, I come out encouraged more than anything else. I'm buying the Buccaneers more after week 1 in a loss by 11 to the Saints than I am right now than I was maybe this time last week. I'm bought in. I think this was going to be a legitimate team, and here's the first reason why. What were the realistic expectations for Tom Brady in this first game? All right, first time in 2 decades, he's with a new team, with a new offensive coordinator, essentially. I know Josh McDaniels left for a little bit, but you get the point. First team in a brand new system. So he's learning the new offense. He's trying to get used to the new wide receivers without an offseason, by the way. That's tough enough as it is for a guy going from 2 decades with one team to a brand new team at the end of his career, trying to get on the same page with his receivers, trying to understand the offense, and trying to basically undo everything he learned in New England to redo and kind of reprogram himself to fit with that Tampa Bay and the Bruce Arians offense. That's hard enough as it is if everything was normal. He had no offseason. This is a guy who is breaking rules. He's illegally practicing with receivers to try to get his timing down because he knew it's going to be tough. It's going to be tight. And he's going from a dink and dunk offense, which is essentially what that offense in New England was, right? They really didn't push it down the field much outside of maybe, let's say, 2007 with Randy Moss. But they killed you in the middle of the field, crossing patterns, out routes, curl routes, timing routes. That's what this New England offense was. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. Dump offs to the running back. He goes from that offense to now a vertical passing scheme. You're throwing the ball deep. You're throwing the ball deep a lot. Instead of having a 50-yard completion where you throw the ball 10 yards and the receiver, because of the way you scheme it up, is open and can run the ball 40 yards, you're getting a 50-yard completion because you're throwing the ball 50 yards to Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. It's different. You have to get used to it. So what were your realistic expectations without a true offseason, with a truncated training camp, that Tom Brady is just going to step in a brand new offense, trying to reprogram himself to play a brand new style of football, and then all of a sudden come out week 1 against a pretty damn good, by the way, Saints defense, and look like his MVP self? He's supposed to go back to 2007? I mean, he's 43. Let's also have some realistic expectations here. I think he's going to be good, but he's not good enough to where he could put the entire team on his back. He needs help from everybody. So, expectations shouldn't have been that high for week 1 anyway. And I think people were probably assuming the best, that he was going to just crush it. You see all these weapons that he has and say, oh, he's going to throw for 50 touchdowns. Obviously, he didn't do that. But this is exactly not, a game where you come away more concerned than not. So expectations, if they were rational and realistic this is probably what you expect somewhere in this area. Maybe less interceptions, maybe not a pick six, maybe a little bit crisper play. But somewhere in this area is not shocking. But to me, the most important thing, and the reason why I'm encouraged coming out of this game, and again, an 11-point loss where Tom Brady threw 2 interceptions, including a pick six. The one area I really look at where I come away more encouraged, buying the Buccaneers more than I did this time last week, was he showed Tom Brady at 43 years old still has the physical skills to fit into this offense and win. His arm strength looked pretty damn good. It looked good. Friday, 3 days ago, Jason Light, general manager of the Buccaneers, had a press conference and was talking about how, in his mind, in his professional opinion, we'll say, Tom Brady's arm looked better in training camp with the Buccaneers than it did when they watched film on him last year in 2019. And to be honest, watching yesterday, I agree with Jason Light. I think that's an accurate description of Tom Brady. I think it's an accurate depiction, an accurate, what's the word here? An accurate scouting report. How about that? And I went back, and again, I watched this the third time to make sure I'm not losing my mind. A lot of these were incomplete that I'm about to rattle off here. But he threw some dimes yesterday that Bruce Arians wants him to throw. In the first quarter, he threw a 40-yard dime to Mike Evans that was incomplete, but a drew pass interference. Hit Mike Evans right in the arm. So there's one. Third quarter, he threw another deep pass, this time a 45-yard pass to Mike Evans that drew another pass interference. Again, hit him right in the hands. Later, a 30-yard pass to Scotty Miller. Again, another flag pass interference. But he's throwing the ball deep. He's putting it right there where these receivers can make a play. On that play to Scotty Miller, one hand was basically, the defensive back held one of his hands back, so he tried to make a one-handed catch. But the ball was dropped right in the breadbasket, only where Scotty Miller could catch the ball, and would have caught if he had two hands. And finally, he actually did get a completion, this time to said Scotty Miller, 35 yards. These are all passes in the air, by the way. So he's throwing 40-yard bombs, 45-yard bombs, 35-yard bombs in the fourth quarter, and he's throwing them on the money. He's completing them. Or would have completed them, I should say, if there wasn't, defensive pass interference, which 3 of these 4 calls were. But he has the arm talent and the accuracy to make the throws Bruce Arians wants him to make. I understand only one of them went down for a completion on the stat sheet. But if you actually watch the throws he's making, the talent is still there. The touch is still there. He threw a few 15, 20-yard passes with perfect touch just over the defensive back, just short enough so the receiver can make a play, catch the ball, and not have the defensive back come over the top and break it and knock it away. So sure, he didn't have a great game by any stretch. So again, I'm not trying to, shrug off Tom Brady's struggles and put it on the team. I'm not. He didn't play great. He didn't play great by any stretch. But he showed enough. He showed he still has the talent to be really good and really potent in this Bruce Arians offense, in this Tampa Bay vertical passing scheme. Now, if the offensive line continues to struggle the way they did yesterday, they're in trouble. I mean, you have a 43-year-old quarterback who never was mobile to begin with, and you want to have these deep passing routes that take time, you got to be able to protect. Donovan Smith, I love Donovan Smith. Penn State guy. Not the best game yesterday. Not what you want your left tackle to be doing. But to me, watching some of these throws, looking at the accuracy, the arm strength, Tom Brady still has a lot left in the tank. He still showed, to me, he still has this tools and the talent to get it done. To change his basically offensive philosophy and fit in to this Bruce Arians offense, not have Bruce Arians try to fit into this Patriots West Coast dink and dunk offense. So to me, again, because of looking at some of these throws that he made, realizing that as time goes on, as more practices, as more games, as health improves, i.e. Mike Evans, this offense is only going to get better. The continuity and the familiarity that Tom Brady is going to have with these receivers is only going to improve. They're going to be on the same page. They're going to know what to look for. So I'm feeling very confident. I'm buying into the Buccaneers. Again, to me, they're going to be legit this year, and they're going to be a real problem in the playoffs. A real problem. Because despite the loss, despite the 2 picks, despite the pick 6, Tom Brady showed the physical tools to have success in this offense, and I'm buying in. So I'm curious your thoughts. Buccaneers Saints, biggest game of the day yesterday, right? On the national Fox window at 4:25 if you're on the East Coast. Biggest storylines, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, both in their 40s trying to get one more Super Bowl. All these weapons around Tom Brady, all the hype and discussion of what is Tom Brady going to look like, what is Buccaneers team going to look like. You got your first shot. You got your first glimpse. And again, while it's easy to bag on Brady, you look at the stats, they weren't great. You look at the results, not great. I'm more encouraged watching this than I was this time last week, excuse me. So I'm buying into the Bucs. I think Tom Brady actually looked really good, or should now I'll take that back. Tom Brady, to me, while his stats didn't look good and his play didn't look good, showed the potential that he could be really good in this Bruce Arians offense. So I'm buying it. I'm buying into the Buccaneers. I think they're only going to get better this year. They will be a real legitimate problem for the Saints in the NFC South, for the rest of the NFC. So I'm curious your thoughts. If you watch the game, Buccaneers Saints, Tom Brady's first game in a new uniform in 2 decades. What did you think? What are your thoughts? Is Tom Brady done? Is he done? In your mind, did he just not do enough? Am I making too many excuses? Because to me, he showed the talent that he had. He showed the arm strength. He showed the accuracy. I'm buying in. I'm buying into the Buccaneers, and I think they'll be very good this year. I'm curious your thoughts. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or at Ryan Hickey Show, both on Twitter. Drop us a tweet, drop a comment on the Facebook live stream. Not only are you buying into the Buccaneers, what did you think of Tom Brady's debut in Tampa? Also, what are your week 1 overreactions? For any team, your favorite team. We finally watched football, right? No preseason games, no real training camp. Fans couldn't go to the training camp. So this is the first time we are seeing our teams, for the most part, in real life, in action. What are your thoughts? We're taking your overreactions, taking your Tom Brady thoughts, right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. And when the Ryan Hickey Show returns, is preseason, do we even need it anymore? Should it permanently be gone? We'll discuss that. So it is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we're back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network on this Overreaction Monday. The first week of NFL action in the books. Save for, again, 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. Steelers, Giants, Broncos, Titans. Should be 2 very interesting games as we always get the Monday night doubleheader to start the season. 14 of the 16 NFL games are in the books, for week 1. And especially, too, again, because the offseason was different than normal, because there's no preseason games, because there's really no real access to training camp. We have an idea and a clue, I think, of what to expect from each team, but there's a lot of question marks surrounding each team, especially players in new situations like Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. I think we had some, you can make some guesses about, what educated guesses is the word I was looking for. Excuse me. You make some educated guesses on what to expect, what the offense could look like, what Tom Brady could, accomplish. But until you actually see it in real life, those educated guesses either are completely off or, okay, yeah, it makes sense. And to me, watching week 1, sure, he struggled, but he showed flashes. He showed glimpses. And because the offseason the way it was, because the timing is still not there going from a new team, yeah, I'm buying in. I think this is legit. So I'm curious your thoughts on Tom Brady. Are you buying in to what you saw with the Buccaneers? Also, what are your week 1 overreactions? What did you watch that either you are way too high on or way too negative about? We're here to try to, meet you in the middle somewhere. Either temper the expectations or the joy a little bit, or raise you up, not get you so depressed. I mean, think about it. I'll say this. I'm a Colts fan. The Colts lost to a team that could have gone 0-16. Maybe he was even trying to go 0-16. And these are the worst loss, or one of the worst losses of week 1. But I'm still here. I'm joyous. We're getting into it. So if I can at least not look on the bright side, but at least not be too Debbie Downer-ish, not just completely overreact and fire everybody, and this guy stinks, and this guy should get cut, trade this guy, fire the coach. We can all do it. That's what we're here for. It's a community. We're here to lift each other up. A lot of negativity in the world. So especially if your team struggled, because that's where a lot of overreactions come into. We're here to cheer you up. To hear your Week 1 overreactions, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or at Ryan Hickey Show. We're talking about the Bucs. To me, it's an overreaction saying that Tom Brady is done. The Buccaneers stink. Chris William Wynn writes, Chris William Wynn. I apologize, Chris. Easy for me to say. Says the Bucs are a middle-of-the-road NFC team anyway, all things considered, even with Brady, Gronk, and co. See, I disagree. I like Chris Godwin. I really like Mike Evans. Leonard Fournette, we'll see. But again, to me, this offense showed potential. This showed real potential. As they get more accustomed to each other, as they get on the same page more, I think this offense is only going to get better. Like I said, I'm buying into the Buccaneers and Tom Brady more after watching them in a loss where Brady throws 2 interceptions than I did this time last week. He showed the skills, he showed the flash that you need to fit into this Bruce Arians throw the ball deep sort of offense. So I'm buying in. I guess I'm on the minority side of this because if you look at social media, a lot of people were bagging on Tom Brady. A lot of people were already ready to basically put dirt over his coffin and bury him, saying his career is done. Same Tom Brady we saw in New England last year? No. I'm not buying into it. You'll see. You will see as Tom Brady gets more on the same page with these receivers, as they get familiar with each other, as the offensive line improves. Because that's the biggest question. The offensive line does have to improve. That's the one thing I can't defend or say, doesn't matter, because it does. If the offensive line does not improve, this team is going nowhere. But if that does happen, I'm buying into what the Buccaneers have. They are, to me, legitimate. And like I said, even an 11-point loss to a division favorite in the Saints, I'm buying into the Buccaneers this year more than I am, or I'm buying into the Buccaneers more than I was this time last week. So taking your overreactions, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio. We'll do quick hits in a half hour, 10:20 Eastern, because there's a lot of games you got to get into. Right, so far we touched on just a few. Did a few overreactions, hit a little bit on Tampa Bay. I want to get into Cam Newton here in top of the hour, 10 minutes from now. One stat that has me concerned about Cam Newton and the Patriots for the future. But still a lot of games to get into. We'll do it in quick hits and a half hour. Quick bullet points on a lot of those other games and a lot of the other action that's gone on so far. But I do want to ask you this question before we move on to that. Like I said, 14 of the 16 Week 1 NFL games are in the books. And I think that's enough of a sample size to make this discussion a serious one. And to me, I'm going to come to the conclusion that I did, and I feel good about it. 2020 being the weird year that it is. Weird being a nice way to describe it. One of the drawbacks, or I should say one of the changes that had to be made this year, was that there's no preseason games at all. Right? NFL used to have 4. They went to 4 back in 1978. But essentially, even when the NFL started in the 1920s, I guess 1920 technically, since is when, that's when the league first recognizes its first year, there was preseason games around in some form or fashion, right? There's always some sort of scrimmage game. There's always some sort of tune-up and warm-up before the real games that counted actually started. But now, this is really the first year since football started that we had no preseason games, no warm-up, no tune-up. It's you're practicing, boom, go right to the game. Well, seeing the action that we did, seeing the play that we saw in Week 1, I'm going to ask you this question. Is it time to just ditch the preseason? Should we ever go back to having preseason games? Because to me, the answer is no. It's time to ditch the preseason. I am done with the preseason. There is no reason, in my mind, after watching what we did in Week 1, to justify bringing the preseason back. Because Week 1, these 14 games basically went as smoothly as you could honestly ask for in the most weird, unnatural offseason you could ever have. The play itself was pretty crisp, right? We didn't see too much sloppy play where the offense either just looked terrible or the defenses were so bad that teams are scoring 50, 60 points because no one could tackle. So the play, for the most part, looked pretty crisp, like it normally does at this time of the year. Big plays were made. Big passes, long routes were completed. So it wasn't just a total slop fest where it was almost impossible to have a completion. Tackling, which I think was the biggest concern. Right, what's the tackling going to be like? There's no real way to tackle in practice. It's not too physical. This is going to be the first time where guys are actually have to take someone to the ground. Tackling, to me, wasn't brutal. It wasn't egregious. Sure, there's missed tackles, but there's missed tackles always in the NFL. It wasn't an epidemic. where the tackling was just so bad that it's just like, all right, like this is just ridiculous. And finally, penalties weren't abundant. That's another thing. First game, you always see a ton of penalties. Holdings, pass interference, late hits, just a lot of sloppy play because this is, again, the first time you're really going all out. So all of that, to me, is the reason why you justified playing preseason games. You want to make the play crisp. You want to actually have rhythm and timing down to by the time you play week one, game one, you're hitting those big plays. The offense is on the same page. The receiver's running the route that you want them to run. Tackling guys that, you miss those tackles in the preseason. By week one, okay, these guys know how to tackle. They're familiar with it. No arm tackling. They get these guys to the ground. And it's because you get, some preseason action. In theory, you should limit the penalties by week one. You get all the penalties down in the preseason, get those holding calls out. Maybe you're not used to the speed. You're still trying to work your way into game shape because that's the thing. You can't really simulate a game-like atmosphere. So everyone's faster in the game. So trying to get that, trying to get your feet under you, that's part of the reason for the preseason. But all of those weren't evident. None of those were an issue that made week one unwatchable or like an issue where, okay, this needs to change. This justifies the preseason. It looks pretty good without any dress rehearsals before, without any meaningless games where we watch the starters play a series or two and then come out. Maybe if they play a half, okay, that's a lot in the third preseason game, and then we'll go on from there. So if you can still have good play, if you can still have crisp, clean plays being made, tackles being made, penalties not taking over the game, what do we need the preseason for? I'm serious. What do we need it for? What is it used for then? I think this biggest argument was because we never really had a season without the preseason. We never started a year where these teams weren't playing games in some sort of fashion to knock the rust off. We always assumed that, okay, no preseason, it's going to be super sloppy, tackling is going to be terrible, penalties are going to be all over the field. It's just going to be a really, really, really tough watch for these games that actually count. I thought that. I thought the first month of the season, with the way the offseason was, you can barely be with your team, so many Zoom meetings, depending on, where you are in the country, you didn't have access to a gym, so if your training regimen wasn't as normal as it was supposed to be, there was just a lot of factors that should have meant that week one and really the month of September was some of the ugliest football we will ever see in the NFL. But if that's not the case, if even in the most dire circumstances, extenuating circumstances, if the play was still pretty good, there's no reason for the preseason. Because who wants them? I know the owners want them for money. But season ticket holders are forced to spend these games, spend money on these preseason games they don't want to go to. The fans hate it. The players don't care. The ratings aren't great. So what's the point? What is honestly the point of the preseason? Even another aspect that really doesn't get talked about too much with the preseason is the fact that you get the referees, get them in shape. They go to training camp. They obviously, they referee a few scrimmages, but they use the preseason to work out the kinks, get the new rules down in order, and obviously just get the speed of the game back. Well, because of the pandemic, the referees weren't even allowed to go to training camp. So on the field, they were on the field this weekend for the first time since last year. Whatever game they worked last, this is the first time they were on the field with NFL players. Think about that. They've had no warm-up, no training, no real way to get ready for the season. And I thought overall, the referees weren't bad. They didn't determine the outcome of games. Maybe you want to get a little ticky-tack on the offensive pass interference in the Cowboys-Rams game last night. But that's not, to me, a byproduct of just not being on the field. That's not just one of those things where you flat-out miss. Or you think that's there because you're not back in your normal training shape. So the referees didn't take over the game, throwing flag after flag after flag. They weren't brutal. They didn't miss egregious calls. So if everyone, for the most part, looked as they should normally, without any preseason games, don't go back. Don't go back. I hope this stays. I really hope this stays. I think this proves to the NFL, proves to the players, proves to the fans. Preseason games are a waste of time, waste of resources, and the NFL absolutely can go right from training camp to week one with no decrease in play, in the level of play. So I hope the preseason is gone, a thing of the past. We never have to worry about that again. We never have to sit through preseason games or get excited or hear analysts talk about preseason games because they don't mean anything. You can accomplish what you need to accomplish in practice. You can accomplish, even when practice is limited. During a pandemic, you could still get enough work into where these guys are ready to play week one. So I hope there's no more preseason games. I hope these things are a thing of the past because they are not necessary, and this proved it. To me, week one proved preseason is not useful. It is not needed. So I'm curious your thoughts. Week one, you watched it. What did you think of the play? Think it was good? Think it was crisp? Is it good enough to where we don't need preseason games anymore? Is it good enough to where we don't have to worry about preseason games? You can put them as a thing in the past and just go from training camp right to week one, just like college football does. So curious your thoughts. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Show me your thoughts. Should we do the away with the preseason games? Should the NFL cancel preseason games, never do them ever again? Also, we're taking your week one overreactions. What are your thoughts on Tom Brady? Again, all of your thoughts and reaction to the week one NFL season on Facebook and Twitter and Periscope. When we come back, as we start hour number 2, there is one stat as Cam Newton gets his first win as a Patriot, as the Patriots defeat the Dolphins, and Bill Belichick goes 1-0 as Tom Brady goes 0-1. There's one stat coming out of that game that gets me very nervous about the future success of the Patriots for this year. Tell you what that stat is and why when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We're back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Hour number 2 of the Ryan Hickey Show as we take you live until 11 a.m. on the East Coast. Talking a lot of NFL football. Talking a lot of reactions. We come to you live from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios. And now whether it's great pizza, hot heroes, or phenomenal dinners, I'm telling you, check out Big Italy Pizzeria, either in person if you're on Long Island, out in Medford, or online at BigItalyPizza.com. Overreaction Monday. We're taking all your thoughts on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter at WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. Tweet me your thoughts, your biggest overreactions to week one of the NFL season. We're here to mollify them, to reduce the severity a little bit. Talk you off the ledge if you are very upset about your team. If you're a Colts fan like myself, watching them lose to a team that I did not think was going to win a game this entire year, that I don't think was actively trying to win a game at all this entire year. So let's say not great when you watch the Philip Rivers era. When you already had doubts about it, get off to a, let's say, unenthusiastic start, to say the least, a not encouraging start. Uninspiring is another word you want to use there. Not great. We'll just say not great. But hey, that's what we're here for. If you're a team that looked great, the Packers, the Rams, the Ravens. Let's hear your overreactions to week number 1 on, again, Facebook, on Twitter. Reach out, let me know. We're discussing Tom Brady. I think, to me, he looks great. There's more encouraging signs about his start in a loss where he throws 2 interceptions. So I'm buying into Tampa Bay more. I am buying into the Buccaneers more right now, Monday, September 14th, the day after they lose by 11 to the Saints, than I was this time last week. Am I crazy? I seem to be in the minority based on social media. There's a lot of people on social media, no problem bagging on Tom Brady, kicking him when he's down, and enjoying the fact that he was struggling in his first game as a Buccaneer. But I think those people already kind of casting off Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, we're going to have to eat some crow a little bit later on. I think they're going to be a legitimate problem in the NFC, and I think they're only going to get a lot better as the season goes on, as Tom Brady gets more familiarity and continuity with this wide receiving core. 15 minutes from now, quick hits. Brand new segment we'll do every single Monday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And that is because there's so much action to get to. Right, we're talking so much NFL week 1 right now. We have no real time to get into college football. And now as the SEC kicks off in 2 weeks, we're going to have ACC, SEC, Big 12, possibly, maybe the Big 10. We'll get into that in a little bit as well. The quick hits we'll do every Monday, just quick hitters, just some quick thoughts on some of the other games. I know we already have some Cardinals thoughts on Facebook. If you want to get any of your thoughts of what you want on week one, we'll read those on the air. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSR_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show also on Twitter. So one of those teams that played really well yesterday, or played well, I should say, not really well, played well, got the win, the New England Patriots, right? Obviously, we all looked at Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay. First time he is now with Bill Belichick in 2 decades. A brand new offense, a lot of weapons. How will he do? But also, the Patriots are also a very intriguing team. First time without Tom Brady. They signed Cam Newton off the scrap heap. A guy with a lot of question marks. A guy who I told you wasn't even going to start. Maybe not even be on the roster by week 1. Didn't get that one right. Totally missed that one, I admit. I thought Jarrett Stidham would be the starter. That was wrong. No problem admitting I was wrong. And Cam Newton, watching him week 1 yesterday against the Dolphins, played fine. Played well. Had some flashes. 21-11 win over the Dolphins. But there's one stat coming out of yesterday's game. If I'm a Patriots fan, if I'm a Cam Newton fan, that has me legitimately concerned about success for Cam and the Patriots the rest of the year. And that one stat is this. 15. As in the number of times Cam Newton ran the ball yesterday. He ran the ball 15 times for 75 yards. And on Twitter, Dan Orlovsky, if you're not following Dan, former NFL quarterback, and now just an insanely smart NFL analyst for ESPN, Dan Orlovsky tweeted out yesterday, he went back and watched Cam Newton's offensive plays. He counted, and by his count, 13 designed runs for Cam Newton. Obviously, Josh McDaniels draws out the play, and the play is, Cam Newton, you're going to run the ball in one way or another. So he ran 15 times total. 13 of those were designed for Cam Newton to run from the snap. And that 13 design runs is significant because that's the second highest amount of design runs of Cam Newton's career. At 31 years old. Coming off basically almost a missed 2019 season. So to me, looking at that he ran 15 times, looking that he designed 13 times, which is the second highest of his career, that amount of running is unstable. It's not sustainable for success for Cam Newton and for the New England Patriots. Number one, he is not used to running this often. For his career, broke it down, rush attempts over the amount of games played. He averages 7.5 carries per game for his career. Obviously, he doubled that with 15 carries yesterday. In a season, back in 2017, that was the highest he ever rushed for a total. He rushed 139 times back in 2017. Averages out to about 8.6 per game. So even when he's running the most in his career, that spanned 10 years now, the most he's really ever averaged running in a game is 8.6. And the reason why I bring that up is because I expect the 15 rush attempts that Cam Newton had yesterday, I expect the 13 rush attempts that were drawn up for him yesterday to be the norm. That's not going to lessen as the year goes on. That's not going to come back to kind of, scale back to come back to average out to 7 or 8 a game. He's going to, it seems at least, what the Patriots want to do offensively and have success, he's going to be averaging double-digit carries a game. Think about it. He's on a 1-year contract. This is basically a flyer. They gave him a 1-year contract, very little money, so there's really no risk for the Patriots. If he gets hurt, they're not on the hook for a lot of money. Their future isn't really invested in Cam Newton. So this is a reclamation project for both Cam and the Patriots. They are buying low with the hopes of really, really, really capitalizing on their investment. So Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels don't have to worry about his durability long term. They don't have to save him from hits because they need him to be their quarterback for 5 years. So they're going to run him to the ground. I fully expect the 15 rush attempts he had yesterday to be the norm moving forward, to be the rule, not the exception. Which is not sustainable. He has like a 31-year-old quarterback to take that much punishment week in and week out. Another reason why I don't think running this much is good is because in Cam's career, the more he runs, it doesn't mean more success offensively. Let's go back to 2017, right? 2017 was the year he had the most rush attempts on the season. He had the highest per game rush attempts, again, 8.6. He averaged 8.6 rushes per game back in 2017 as a Carolina Panther. You know what he also had that same year? The year he ran the most of his career, he had the second lowest QB rating of his career. He had the second fewest passing yards when he played in the full season of his career. And he also threw the second most interceptions in a season with 16. That year, Cam Newton ran 8.5 times per game. The Panthers were 12th in the NFL in total points. So running more in Cam Newton's career hasn't equaled more success. He is very dangerous with his legs, as we know. We know him to be a dual-threat quarterback. He is a linebacker at the position. You need a goal line run, he can do it. He is very dangerous when he rolls out the pocket. But he's not one of those guys that looks to run first. He's not one of those guys that has more success when he is running. Defenses try to stop the run, then he passes more. Like I just said, he was running the most in his career back in 2017. Second lowest QB rating, second fewest passing yards, second most interceptions. Running more doesn't equal more success. And finally, the third and final reason, and the biggest reason, why I think the one stat of Cam Newton running 15 times yesterday for 75 yards is concerning for future success for the 2020 season is because it's the one question why I had my doubts why I didn't think Cam Newton was going to be the starting quarterback this year to begin with. Durability. It's a major, major, major concern with this guy. He won the MVP back in 2015. Feels like an eternity ago, especially considering how long 2020 has felt. But he's played 4 seasons, right? 16, 17, 18, 19. 4 seasons since that MVP. He's played a full 16-game slate one time. One time. He missed an entire season, 16 games worth of games the last 2 years from injury. 16 games. He missed 14 last year. This is not a guy who's come in, has been pretty healthy. He's been durable. He's taken a few hits, but, he can survive through them. This is a guy with a major, major, major injury history. A lot of question marks about his health. A lot of question marks about his durability, which is why the Patriots were basically able to sign him for nothing. If any other team was confident that Cam Newton could stay healthy for a full season, he would be on our roster. But that's not the case. So now you put a guy behind center who's had 2 shoulder surgeries in his career. He's had foot surgery. He's had ankle surgery. He's had that back vertebrae fracture from a car accident. And now you want to run him 13, 15 times a game. It's not sustainable. That is not the recipe for success, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen because there's really no reason why Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels won't do that. They're not tied to Cam Newton long term. They don't have a lot of money invested to where if he gets hurt, sure, your season goes kind of in the tank this year, but Cam Newton is really never the option long term anyway. He's a stopgap quarterback for them anyway. Sure, if you win the division this year, it'd be gravy. Sure, if you have some success, maybe win a playoff game would be awesome. Maybe stick it to Tom Brady if he struggles down in Tampa Bay. This is never the plan. This is never the long-term plan. They have a ton of cap space and a ton of draft picks coming up after this season. They're going to rebuild on the fly, retool, and try to find a mobile quarterback in the draft somehow that's younger and less injury-prone than Cam Newton. And now, not to mention, this is like a new toy that McDaniels and Bill Belichick have. But for 2 decades, they've had a statue back there. Now, Tom Brady's one of the best. I'm not trying to take anything away from Tom Brady. But Bill Belichick knows the direction the league is going to. He watches Lamar Jackson. There's rumors around the draft that he was interested in drafting Lamar Jackson. He's watched Deshaun Watson carve him up. Mobile quarterbacks that hurt you not only with their arm but with their legs as well is going to be now the norm in the NFL. I would say it's the future, but it's almost already here. Bill Belichick sees that. For the first time, he can actually take advantage of that and have a player like that on his team. I think he's going to really use it. I think he's going to really take advantage and try to use Cam Newton's athletic ability and legs more than ever. Hence the 15 rush attempts yesterday. Hence the 13 design rush attempts in week 1, the second highest of Cam Newton's career. They're going to run him to the ground. They're going to run Cam Newton to the ground, and the hope is that he stays healthy. But I'll say this, hope is not a strategy. hope doesn't really get you far. So that's why I'm legitimately concerned about the success of the Patriots this season. This season. Because I don't think that offensive strategy of running Cam Newton heavily is going to pay off in the end. I don't think riding a guy who's missed, again, 16 games combined the past 2 years, coming off major injury questions, is not the strategy to run him into the ground in his first year back in almost a year and a half. So to me, seeing that number, really, again, despite the fact that they got the win, despite the fact that Cam Newton ran for 2 touchdowns, to me, that does more harm than good. I'm more concerned. It's almost like flipped. I'm buying into more on the Buccaneers with Tom Brady, even though they lost, because to me, Tom Brady showed flashes that he can really fit in. Once he gets the continuity down, once the offense gets the timing down, they'll be a lot better. That's the opposite of me with the Patriots. Sure, they won. Sure, Cam Newton ran for 2 touchdowns. But I'm legitimately concerned. I come out of this game more concerned about Cam Newton and the Patriots being successful this year. Because I just don't think their way of offense and their offensive game plan is sustainable. I don't. It could work for 3 games, 4 games. Hell, it could even work for 8 games, 10 games. When you're constantly asking Cam Newton to take a pounding week in and week out, coming off a season where he missed 14 games, I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think that's the best offensive plan. So I'm concerned. I'm curious your thoughts. Right? If you watch Tom Brady and his debut in Tampa Bay, I'm curious, what do you think about Cam Newton's debut in New England? Is this offense sustainable? Do you watch Cam Newton yesterday and say, you know what? He's going to be pretty good this year. The Patriots are the team to beat in the AFC East. The Patriots are going to be real contenders in the AFC. Have your thoughts, I should say, on the Patriots change at all after watching yesterday's game. I'm curious what you think about Cam Newton. Any week 1 overreactions. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Air Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. We'll get your week 1 overreactions. We'll get your thoughts on Tom Brady. We'll get your thoughts on Cam Newton. And when we come back, the debut of a brand new segment, Quick Hits. We'll hit a ton of different games real quick. Hence the name Quick Hits. We'll do that when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we're back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is a Monday. It is Overreaction Monday in the NFL. We are reacting to all of the Week 1 games, 14 of the 16 games in the books tonight. Steelers, Giants, Titans, Broncos on later tonight for the 2 Monday night games, and we will conclude the Week 1 slate. We're taking all your overreactions on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Tweet us at Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show. Either or works. Whatever one you want to feel comfortable with at WWSRN_radio or at Ryan Hickey Show. So, because we've dove, I should say, into a few different topics, right? Whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's Cam Newton, whether it's no preseason games, we got to go around the league. We haven't really hit too many of the other games so far. So we will do that in a brand new debuted segment, Quick Hits. We'll do it every single Monday. Go around, not only the NFL, the college football world as well. Get our thoughts from all of the football action this weekend in a quick and compact way. So, let's get it going. We'll go back to Thursday Night Football. Chiefs-Texans open up the season. Man, the Chiefs offense, no hyperbole, looks unstoppable. Patrick Mahomes, no big deal. Another day in the office, 3 touchdowns. Clyde Edwards-Helaire gives the Chiefs something they did not have in the past, a real rushing attack. 130 yards on a touchdown on his debut. Honestly, he got stuffed on the goal line a few times. He could have had 3 touchdowns himself. So the passing attack is lethal. The running game had its way with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm serious when I say this. Like, this is, again, no hyperbole, and I'm being 99% serious. How to stop the Chiefs right now? The best defense is offense. And this is what I mean by that. Teams just shouldn't punt. If you are facing the Chiefs, and it's not 4th and 40, teams shouldn't punt. Every single 4th down and 7, 4th down and 4, 4th down and 3, no matter where the ball is, you should be going for it. Because what we've seen so far, whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's Week 1, whether it's any so far in the last 2 years and one game of Patrick Mahomes' career, where he's been the starter, you can't keep this Chief offense down. They're going to score. And now they're only getting better. You're adding more weapons. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, again, the Chiefs did not need him. I understand Damian Williams opted out. You could have got by with any single other running back off the scrap heap if you wanted to. But you add a bona fide stud, a first-round draft pick into that position, and now, honestly, they attack you from all angles. Tight end, deep, over the middle, in the running game. The best way to stop this team is to just keep on the sidelines. Don't give them the ball. So teams, I'm serious, have to go for a fourth down more than maybe they ever would in a normal game because the Chiefs' offense just can't be stopped. Don't punt against the Chiefs. We'll go number 2. College football. We'll do a little college football here. If you missed it, the ACC and the Big 12 returned. Let me say this about the Big 12. There's a few fan bases right now that maybe wish they were in the Big 10 seat. Maybe wish they were a Pac-12 team. Because the Sun Belt Conference, and if you can name one Sun Belt team before I give you 3 names of 3 big upsets or before this weekend, I give you a lot of credit. You are a diehard college football fan. The average college football fan probably couldn't even tell you where the Sun Belt Conference is located. But no matter. They played 3 Big 12 schools. They went 3-0. The Sun Belt Conference went 3-0 against the Big 12. You had Louisiana going on the road, upsetting number 23 Iowa State, and really dominating that game in the second half. Final score 31-14. Louisiana dominated a program that was ranked in the Power 5 conference in Iowa State. Incredible. And Arkansas State pulling off another stunning upset over Kansas State. And the nightcap. So instead of because it's 2020, an interesting quirk where you're used to Pac-12 after dark, right? You get USC on late, you get Oregon on late, maybe you get Washington State, Arizona. We know Pac-12 after dark. It's always wacky. It's always zany. There's always some sort of crazy thing happening. Well, now, no Pac-12. What do we get instead? Big 12 after dark. Kansas, Coastal Carolina. 10 a.m. on the East Coast. Kickoff, I think it's 9 o'clock. I believe they're in the Central Time Zone, so 9 o'clock local kickoff. No problem. Coastal Carolina goes in there and kicks the crap out of Kansas. Puts them in their place. There was a point where you could hear on the broadcast a Coastal Carolina player saying, these boys can't keep up with us. A Sun Belt player on Coastal Carolina talking about a player and a team on Kansas in a Power 5 conference that can't keep up with them. College football madness is back. At least for me, it was weird watching it. Obviously, if you can see if you're watching on the video, I'm wearing my Penn State polo. Penn State alum, big Big Ten fan. So it was weird, and it definitely was not the same watching the ACC, watching the Big 12. Just watching college football on Saturday, it didn't feel the same. It wasn't the same. But you know what is the same? You know what didn't change, pandemic or no pandemic? Big Ten playing or not playing? At Pac-12 playing or not playing? Madness. Craziness. Zaniness. Unpredictability. That's what college football is. That's why we love it so much. It makes zero sense. It is unpredictable. And when you are relying on 18 to 22-year-old kids, legitimately anything can happen. We saw it already. Sun Belt. Put them in the Power 5. Kick the Big 12 out. Congratulations to the Sun Belt Conference. Congratulations to Louisiana, Arkansas State, Coastal Carolina. Dominant over the Big 12. Speaking of college football, we'll stick there. Is it possible the Big 10 could not only return to play this fall, return to play in a month, and be eligible for the college football playoff? There's a report, possibly potentially today, that over the weekend, doctors, athletic directors made a presentation to Big 10 presidents highlighting testing capabilities, scheduling that would have the season start in middle of October, play 8 games in 9 weeks, play a conference championship on December 19th. Oh, just happens to be December 20th is when the college football playoff teams are revealed. From what you see on Twitter, coming from guys like Pete Thamel, Pat Forty, who've been all over the shutdown to begin with, they are guys breaking the story, discussing how the Big Ten doesn't seem like they're going to return to play. The Pac-12 could follow suit. The fact that they are the ones reporting that legitimately the Big Ten could return, a vote could happen as soon as today, I can't lie. I told you at the beginning of the show, I'm an emotional person when it comes to sports. I kind of latch onto things and carry them with me. I'm setting myself up to fail because I've done this probably 3 other times already. Of getting my hopes up that Big Ten football will return, the Big Ten will reverse their decision and let the teams play. My hopes are already up. I am fired up. I'm already counting down the days to the playoff. I'm fired up about Penn State. I'm already looking forward to Ohio State coming to Happy Valley. Fans or no fans, I'm jacked. I'm not screaming because I don't want to blow up the radio or I don't want to hurt this microphone or break the microphone. But let's just say the Colts losing to the worst team in the NFL yesterday. Not even that could make me depressed and sad because the Big Ten possibly returning. Rumors started Saturday and they were swirling yesterday that a possible vote could happen. Please, please, please do not play with our heartstrings. I'm all in. This would be insane. This would be great for college football, great for the Big Ten, great for the college football playoff. I'm in. I am in. Let's please, please, please. Let's do it. Let's go. Bring Big Ten football back. Justin Fields hasn't opted out yet. Penn State still returns a deep team. Wisconsin has a lot of good players. Let's go. Please, Big Ten. Don't do this again. Don't pull the rug out from under us yet again. It would be insane. So but we'll go back to the NFL here for a few. And I apologize. I'm going a little late. We'll go a little quicker. No hangover from the Ravens yesterday. Kicked the crap out of the Browns 38-6. Lamar Jackson, right? A lot of questions. Can he repeat his performance? There's always a little bit of a I don't want to say hangover, but there's always, maybe expectations go too high when you win an MVP. Can't live up to them. Always some sort of dip from that just insane season. Lamar Jackson, 20-25, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, super efficient. It looked effortless on the field. He did it. The offense the offense for the Ravens up and down the field. Browns couldn't hang with them. And the Ravens pick up where they left off. No hangover from the playoff loss. And they go from 14-2 the regular season to win yet another regular season game. 13 regular season wins in a row now for the Ravens. They looked great. They looked efficient in their first game against the Browns. Joe Burrow looked very impressive in his debut. Now, the stats weren't crazy, right? He went 23-36, 193 yards and 3 interceptions. Had a rushing TD, but didn't throw a passing TD. But speaking of that rushing TD, if you haven't seen it, look it up. Just type in Joe Burrow on Twitter. That's the great thing about Twitter. Any highlight you missed, any soundbite you missed, just type in the name. You'll see it a ton of times. Great use of the legs by Joe Burrow for his rushing touchdown. Really showed you his athleticism. And not to mention, too, this is the best part. So, sure, the Bengals lost the game. Sure, Joe Burrow statistically didn't throw for 300 yards or light it up all over the Chargers' defense. But down by 3, final drive of the game, in your first game as a rookie, what does Joe Burrow do? Throws for 8 of 11 yards. Excuse me, 8 of 11 yards. Goes 8 of 11, throws for 70 yards on the final drive of the game, and was one offensive pass interference call away for throwing the game-winning touchdown with 10 seconds left. Now, did A.J. Green push off? Yeah, he did. Was it egregious? Have plays been made by wide receivers beforehand that weren't called? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's not Joe Burrow's fault that A.J. Green pushed off and the flag was called. He did everything he possibly could to lead his team down the field, not only to tie the game, to win the game. And speaking of which, after that flag was called, after the touchdown, again, with under 10 seconds left that would have won them the game, was taken off the board, they still were in chip shot field goal range. He still did his job. He led the team down to scoring range. Worst case scenario would have sent the team to overtime. But because the Bengals, because they stink, chip shot field goal, missed. And now walking away with a loss is the Bengals in the first game. But very impressive first debut for Joe Burrow. Despite the numbers not being great, he made the clutch plays when he had to. Looked calm and cool. Joe Cool. Good for you, Joe Burrow. Cardinals. How about those Cardinals? A lot of hype. How many times have we seen a young team, a lot of hype in the offseason, the offseason darlings we just saw a year ago with the Browns, maybe even this year with the Browns, a little bit as well, but not as much as last year. The Cardinals with that team this year. They trade for DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray is being predicted to win the MVP by some. They're one of those spunky teams last year that people thought would take another step. Tough first game at San Fran, reigning NFC West winners, reigning NFC champs. They go right there and punch him in the mouth. Make a statement week 1 on the road. Again, no fans. You're still traveling. It's still different. It's still a road atmosphere. Win the game. You beat the 49ers. And how about DeAndre Hopkins? Wasting no time getting accustomed to this offense. 14 catches, 151 yards. I wonder if Kyler Murray is a new favorite target. I wonder if Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury are glad that DeAndre Hopkins is on their team. And credit to the defense. They really limited the 49ers' rush offense. As we know, they have gashed teams in the past. Big question is going to be if the defense can give the Cardinals a chance to win. They did that. Props to Arizona. Big statement win. One of the biggest wins of week 1. Into San Fran. Make a statement right away. This team is not hype. They are here to compete. Credit to you, Cardinals. We'll go 2 more. Hopefully my guy Chris, who's been active on Facebook today, hopefully he's still listening. He's a big Lions fan. Now, I don't know any Lions fans, so I don't really know Chris, but hey, he's nice enough to write on Facebook. He's nice enough to be listening to the show. So I feel his pain. Lions are going to lion. And this is the year I actually bought into, I don't want to say the hype, because it really wasn't too hyped up. There wasn't a lot of talk, but there was discussions if Matthew Stafford could stay healthy, this offense and this team could be pretty good. The NFC North, really no team kind of stood out more than the other. To me, I think the Vikings are the team that's going to win the division. But they're pretty clustered together where really there's no team head and shoulders better than another. It's okay. The Lions, maybe they won't finish in last place. I think the Bears will. But the Lions could be, 8-8, 9-7, right on the fringe of maybe a playoff, being a playoff contender. Possibly, kind of be in the mix in December. Get off to a great start. 23-6 in the fourth quarter. Mitchell Trubisky, again, looking like he was going to get left at the stadium. Looking like they were accidentally going to leave Mitch on the tarmac as they fly back to Chicago. And instead, the Lions just going to lion, man. It's so sad. You let Mitchell Trubisky throw for 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns, lead a comeback. This guy was dead. He was on life support. And the Lions run over, give him the zap, zoop, zoop, bring him back to life. Trubisky, 3 touchdowns. That's not bad enough. Okay, you let Mitch Trubisky come back on you with 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns. And basically, his career looked like he was dead. That's bad enough. Oh, let's make it worse, Lions fans. Let's really dig the knife in there deep and twist it. Really make you feel the pain. Matthew Stafford leads the team right down the field. Chance to win the game, down by 4, 27-23. Throws the ball. DeAndre Swift, the ball's in his hands. DeAndre Swift, in his first game, catches or should have caught the ball in the end zone, wide open, spinning around, drops the ball. Would have won the game. And instead, the Lions again fall in agony. They lose to the Bears. So heartbreaking, so demoralizing. And for the second year in a row, they blew an opening lead against, or opening week lead, in Arizona last year, where Kyler Murray made that comeback and tied the game. The game ended in a tie. Instead, they let Mitchell Trubisky come back on them and then drop the game-winning touchdown pass to win the game. Lions are gonna lion. Some things just don't change. 2020 or not, right? We've seen some crazy things happen. One thing that's stayed the same, that's consistent. Lions disappointing. Chris, if you're still listening, I'm sorry, man. That is brutal. You don't deserve that. Lions fans don't deserve that pain. I am so sorry. And finally, we'll stick in the NFC North. A team I will admittedly overlook. A team I thought was going to take a major step back. A guy who I thought was going to struggle this year, Aaron Rodgers. Boy, is he back. Boy, is he back. Because he really didn't have many performances like he did yesterday in 2019 with Matt LaFleur. 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, throwing dimes all over the field. And again, for the first time in honestly 2 years, Aaron Rodgers looked like the elite quarterback that we've said he is, the most talented quarterback, the most arm talent for any quarterback in the NFL. He showed that yesterday. And this is shocking for a few reasons. One, like I said, we haven't really seen that Aaron Rodgers perform that way under Matt LaFleur. Two, going into this offseason, I thought the plan was going to be, and Matt LaFleur has said this, and the Packers have said this, it's going to be a run-heavy offense. They drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round out of Boston College. They didn't draft any wide receiver. One of the glaring needs for the Packers last year, coming to this year, was wide receiver depth behind Devontae Adams. They had really no one. Alan Lazard, okay, nice player. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's been there for a while. I kind of know what his ceiling is going to be. There's no game breaker. There's no real second option behind Devontae Adams. So it seemed like when you draft a quarterback, you trade up to draft a quarterback in the first round. You draft a running back in the second round. Not only are Aaron Rodgers' days numbered, but they're almost going to go in not a rebuild, but a slight retooling, reshape the offense to be a run-heavy, run-first oriented offense. And instead, you have Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball 44 times, airing it out all over the yard, throwing dimes to all different receivers. So, yeah, I was shocked. I did not think we would see this explosive Green Bay offense again with Aaron Rodgers. Last year, at times it was plodding. Last year, at times it was boring, not explosive. I thought that was going to continue, maybe even more so because of the emphasis on the run game. But instead, they air it out. And again, Aaron Rodgers looked like his 2018, 2017 self. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. So at least that's the quick hit segment. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was fun for you. Hopefully, we hit everything you want to hit into. So I'm curious, what was the biggest thing in your mind that stood out from week one? We got overreactions. We got a few quick hitters here. What is your biggest reaction? What is your biggest thought process coming out of week one? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, WWSRN_radio, or on Twitter, @Ryan Hickey Show. Reach out. Let's hear your biggest week one overreactions, your biggest week one takeaways. We'll get those when we come back, and we'll get one NBA point why James Harden will never be able to be the guy on a championship team. We'll do that when the Morning Boys. Damn it. I was close. What is this, the fifth break? 4 to 5, yeah, right. We'll do when the Ryan Hickey Show, still trying to work on that, when the Ryan Hickey Show comes back right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
City to city, coast to coast.
it's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
And we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. As you heard the great voice guy say, it is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We appreciate you tuning in on this Monday morning, this Monday after an NFL weekend, and a Monday after week one of NFL action, which means it is Overreaction Monday. We watch one thing, good or bad, extrapolate it for the rest of the season, think, okay, this team, the Ravens, scored 38 points. You're going to score 38 points every single night. Teams like the Colts, teams like the Browns, teams like the Jets, they're never going to win a game. It's going to be one of the worst seasons we've ever seen in history. They are screwed. We're here to meet you in the middle, though. We're here to meet you in the middle. If you're down, we're here to lift you up. We don't want to temper, your excitement too much because we love that you're fired up. We love that you're excited that football's back and you're excited about your team. But we're here to maybe get a slight reality check. Maybe bring those expectations out a tiny bit to make them realistic. That's all. That's why we're here. Mullify, right? We're here to mullify. Mullification Monday right here on the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And that is our goal. So any of your week one overreactions to the NFL, good, bad, ugly, or otherwise, Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, or tweet me right at the source at Ryan Hickey Show. Make sure, first of all, I should be following all those accounts. All the great insight, all the great shows we have are broadcasted on Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or through Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Throw us a like, throw us a follow. You get an alert anytime a show goes live. We have a ton of great content, especially with the football now here. Basketball's still going on. We still have a lot of post-game shows that we do, NFL pregame shows, hockey, as we're in the midst of the conference finals for both the East and the West. A lot of great content, a lot of good shows coming on the Worldwide Sports Network. So follow us on Twitter, throw us a like on Facebook, and that way you'll be up to date with all the great stuff happening right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. So a few quick hits, right? Just a few different thoughts on a few games that have gone on. Chris writes on Facebook, super impressed with the Cardinals knocking off the Niners. Still, to be honest, I wasn't and not thinking a 5'9" quarterback is a franchise QB, but Kyler Murray has been very serviceable so far. Totally great. Insane great game by Kyler Murray. And I think and I hope for all those antiquated general managers out there, for all those antiquated fans out there that still think there's a certain height you have to be to play quarterback, there's a certain stature that you have to meet in order to be under center and be an NFL quarterback. That is changing. Guys like Kyler Murray, guys like Lamar Jackson, guys like Deshaun Watson. It's a new era of the NFL quarterback. And height shows it's not all the difference. It's not a reason for success. Incredible, incredible game one performance. To meet the hype, nonetheless, it is tough. When you're an underdog team, like the Cardinals last year, there's not much expected for them. First pick overall, the team was terrible. You bring in a new head coach. You hope who hasn't had a lot of success at Texas Tech in college. Hope he can translate the offense with Kyler Murray and have some success. The roster around him stunk. And they were tough out last year. They pushed teams, despite their record. 5-10-1. They were a tough out. They were not a rollover team. They're not one of those teams where you have on the schedule, you say automatic win. They pushed the 49ers. Again, the team that went to the Super Bowl in both games that they played them. They played them tough, and now, because people are buying in, because they're hype, because there is hype, because they trade for DeAndre Hopkins, expectations are starting to form in Arizona. And that could really, if a team's not ready, to meet them, if a team's not ready to exceed them, that brings added pressure and brings disappointment. But credit to the Cardinals, credit to Kyler Murray. First game on the road again against the defending NFC champions. Win that game. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. A big fan of Kyler Murray. That's only going to continue. I'm not ready to call him the MVP yet. I know Bucky Brooks is one reporter that claimed him to win the MVP this year, similar to Lamar Jackson last year, similar to Patrick Mahomes 2 years ago. As quarterbacks in their second year in the NFL that explode on the scene and win the MVP, I'm not ready to say that for Kyler Murray yet. But he showed some real impressive flashes on the ground and with his arm. Dangerous, deadly combo. Really excited to see what Kyler Murray and this Cardinals team has cooking the rest of the season, but definitely a great start for them so far. So we're getting all those week one reactions. Last minute here before we get out of here in about 10 minutes. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter. We'll get your thoughts again before we say goodbye. But I do want to get to one basketball point really quick. It's been very NFL heavy, as it should be. I don't want to ignore one thing that happened over the weekend in the NBA, because I know the NBA takes a backseat to football. That's fine. I'm a big football fan first. Don't get me wrong. I just want to say one thing really quick, and that is the confirmation, because I've said on this show, since the restart, there's something about the Rockets that I liked. There's something about the Rockets where I thought they could actually make a run in the playoffs, upset the Lakers, upset the Clippers. And that something was that, for the first time in James Harden's career, he will come into the playoffs rested. Right? Obviously, because the schedule the way it is, having 4 months off, teams will have this massive, massive layoff before playing a few preseason or seeding games, I should say, and then getting to the playoffs. Every year, James Harden averages or is close to the top in average minutes per game. He's always on the court. He rarely comes off. And the playoffs, you see, as a jump shooter, someone who needs his legs, someone who relies on his legs to get up and get the shots in from three. He gets tired, he gets fatigued. So I had one last excuse in my James Harden book, I'll say, of me just rooting for him to succeed, rooting for him to get a ring, because I liked his skill, and I thought he got too much flack from a lot of people in the media. But, unfortunately, that did not come to fruition. The James Harden that we've seen in the previous playoff series, the James Harden that we saw in the bubble, same guy. Same exact guy. No difference. as the Lakers eliminated the Rockets from the playoffs over the weekend. Another series, yet again, where James Harden, in the big moment, disappears. Game 4 especially. Lakers are up 2-1 in the series. Pivotal Game 4. Rockets really need James Harden to step up. Right? Be the superstar. That's what superstars do. In big moments, when your team needs you, you step up and lead the way. What does James Harden do down 2-1 in a pivotal Game 4? He goes 2 of 11 from the field. 2 of 11. And the most damning part, pointed out by great NBA reporter, great overall guy, and Bill Ryder, at SportsWriter on Twitter if you don't follow him. He's a great NBA mind, great sports mind. He pointed this out in a great column he had for CBS over the weekend. James Harden did not attempt a single shot from the floor in the fourth quarter. Didn't attempt a shot. The Rockets weren't up by 50. The Rockets weren't down by 50. The Rockets were in a pivotal must-win Game 4, made a comeback in the fourth quarter, and James Harden took 0 shots on the field in the fourth quarter. So there's no more excuse. That's it. Because time and time again, James Harden has proved to be unreliable in the playoffs, not willing or capable, either or both, of being the guy in the playoffs, and shrinks in the big moment. 2018, as we know, that famous Western Conference Finals, where the Rockets set history for the amount of missed threes that they had. James Harden goes 2 of 13 from 3 in Game 7. 2 of 11 in that Game 6 loss to the Spurs a few years ago in the Western Conference semifinals. 2 of 11 for 10 points. Let's even just go back to the bubble in the opening series. In Game 7 against the Thunder. Thunder pushed the Rockets. No one really expected that. Game 7, win or go home in the bubble. James Harden goes 4 of 15 from the field. 1 of 9 from 3. That's not what you need, and that is now, unfortunately, the reality and the norm to expect from James Harden when the game is on the line in the biggest games of the season in the playoffs. Stars in the NBA are great in the regular season, but they really make their money. They earn those max contracts for what they do in the playoffs. Every team left in the bubble, every team that makes it playoffs and has won playoff series is because their elite players, their superstar players on their team, step up when their team needs them. The Nuggets, you have Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. Both, when the Nuggets are playing well so far through these first 2 series, they have played great. They've dug out of a 3-1 hole in part because those 2 players have stepped up. Back-to-back series now, they have gone down 3-1 and have forced a Game 7 because those guys, for whatever reason, it takes till Game 5 when you're down 3-1, but those guys step up. When the season's on the line, they play great. LeBron James, when the moment is huge in his career, he's able to turn that around. He's been able to be one of the most dominant and clutch players in the big moments. The Heat with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has been playing great down the stretch, offensively and defensively, setting his teammates up to where the Heat are in the Eastern Conference Finals. Jason Tatum and co, same thing. Jaylen Brown has stepped up. Marcus Smart has stepped up. Jason Tatum has played well. Your best players for all these teams remaining have played great when it matters the most, except for James Harden and the Rockets. Every single year, it's the same thing. He's a phenomenal, incredible regular season player. He's an incredible regular season scorer. As soon as you get to the playoffs, as soon as you get to a must-win game, as soon as you get to a pivotal moment where your team needs a bucket or needs an incredible game from your star, your max player, your superstar, James Harden has never proven to be the guy. This latest exit from the bubble confirms to me the fact, James Harden, if he is your number one guy, if he is your go-to option like he is on the Rockets, you will never win a championship with him as your number one threat, him as your number one player. He has proven time and time again to shrink in the big moment. He cannot do it. He can't handle that pressure, doesn't want to handle that pressure. It's not even that he's failing. He's not even trying. Not taking a shot in the fourth quarter from the field in a Game 4 when you're down 2-1 is inexcusable. It's unacceptable. It's indefensible. That is the time where you take more shots than anyone. You say, guys, I got this. Give me the ball. I'm taking over. And instead, he deferred. Ask someone else to do it. I don't want to do it. Down the stretch also we saw in games, he just stayed away from the ball. Russell Westbrook, say what you want. He has struggled, and his shooting has been, it doesn't fit what the Rockets want to do. He's not a good shooter. But you know what? with those turnovers, with those missed shots, at least he's trying. At least you can't say Russell Westbrook shied away from the moment. He didn't get the job done in the big moment. He didn't shy away from it. He wasn't intimidated by the pressure. Wasn't intimidated by the spotlight. James Harden is. So you can never count on him in a clutch situation, which is why him as your number one option, as your number one player on a team, will never win you a championship. Never. I am writing that down in pen, not pencil, and closing the book on that. Because to me, it's over. If James Harden wants to win a title, it won't be with him as the number one guy. So I just want to get that NBA point in there quickly. I know it's kind of got lost in the shuffle of everything that happened with the NFL. But that just want to get that off my chest. As a James Harden guy, as a believer, as someone who told you here when the playoffs started in the bubble, the Rockets are one of those teams I was looking at because you know what? Maybe they have a chance. Maybe that they can do something here to make a little bit of a run. Maybe because of the rest. James Harden's legs are actually, say they don't have a ton of minutes on him. Maybe this would be the year that they actually make a real run. But, alas, business as usual. Because it's not about the legs. It's not about even missing shots. It's about not even taking shots. That will never change. That will never change. So that's what we're going to do with this edition, this Monday, this NFL Monday edition of the Ryan Hickey Show. Really appreciate you all tuning in, contributing on Facebook, contributing on Twitter, and giving us a few minutes here to react to everything we saw in the NFL. Everything we saw. A lot of fun. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Again, if you have any thoughts you weren't able to watch live, you're rewatching somewhere on the replay on Facebook, on Twitter, tweet at me, at Ryan Hickey Show. Any of your thoughts, any of your overreactions to week one of the NFL. Enjoy Monday night. I'm taking the Steelers. I'm taking the Broncos. Steelers on the road, Broncos at home. Those are my two winners tonight on Monday Night Football. Enjoy Monday Night Football. We'll be back on Thursday, previewing week number 2, with a possible special guest in studio. Tell you more about that if I can confirm, but a possible special guest in studio to join us here. I think it could be a fun little segment. We'll see how it goes. But that will do it for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show. Appreciate you tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk to you Thursday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.